So Keith, thanks very much for coming on. How are you managing without sports the last month or two?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I suppose like everyone else, we're managing as best we can. Not ideal, I suppose, trying to train away on your own and motivate yourself to do those bits and pieces. But look, it's you have to make the most of it, and I think everyone's in the same boat. So, like I said, you just have to make the best of a bad situation, I suppose.
Yeah, how have you been finding the training? I know sort of John Horan said, was it last week, that inter-county games wouldn't be starting till October at the earliest. Do you welcome that? I suppose that you get that bit of like relax off the bit of training.
Um, yeah, I suppose it was a bit of a mixed reaction. I suppose when it came out and said it first, you're probably thinking, at least we have an idea when we were going back. But I suppose you need, I suppose, that bit of positivity and something to look forward to. Even though October seems a long way away, but look, I suppose we can just hope for the best at this stage and hope things go well, and that everything stays on track and we can get back to some sort of training and even club championship in maybe in July and August. So, it's people are coming out and looking for clarity around different things, all that. It's difficult because you just don't know how things are going to react. So I think we just nearly have to play it by week, I suppose, at this stage, see how it goes, and like I said, just hope for the best and try and keep positive and like I said, keep going in mind that you will have something maybe in August with the club, that type of thing.
Yeah, he seems to nearly rule out the behind closed doors idea. Would you even mind playing behind closed doors with no fans?
Yeah, again, you see a lot of kind of mixed reaction to it, I suppose. The theory is there that it's better than no games at all.
Yeah,
But I just kind of watching some of the Bundesliga there at the weekend behind closed doors. It just felt like
yeah.
a kind of an overrated challenge game or training game or something. There was no real intensity or anything like that to it. But look, I suppose you can't rule anything out at this stage. I mean, you take what we can get, I suppose. But realistically, you wouldn't want to be playing, I suppose, an important challenge game behind closed doors. You'd want some kind of atmosphere at it. But like I said, we can't be too picky and too fussy, I think, at this stage, really.
Yeah, so we'll move on to, I suppose, your Mayo career. You came onto the scene in 2005, but I suppose 2006 probably your big breakthrough year. You got Young Player of the Year that year and you got to the All Ireland final. So, what was that year like?
Yeah, it was good, I suppose. Yeah, I said, come on. I started in 2005, few league games, played the first round of the championship, got injured, and didn't really play again then until the last probably 15 minutes of the quarter final against Kerry. So 2006 was probably the first full year. Um, yeah, it was a great year. So we won the under 21 All Ireland that year, which was a huge thing for Mayo at the time, and had a lot of All Ireland success at any age, really. So that was really good. And then, yeah, the summer of 2006 just kind of kept getting better with the seniors, winning Connacht and then going on to Ireland. Obviously, the highlight, I suppose, was probably the semi-final against Dublin, given everything that happened that day. And then the final, obviously, was again a bit of a no-show against Kerry. It was probably over after 10 or 15 minutes. But, that Kerry team were probably just the peak of their powers around that stage. So, but yeah, overall, it was a great year. I mean, started with under 21 All Ireland and finished with Young Player of the Year. So, you couldn't have any arguments with that in your second full season, I suppose.
Yeah, so one highlight I kind of want to talk about was the 2006 game against Dublin. It's one of those sort of classic games the last 10, 15 years, but you decided when you come out, say the usual run out of the tunnel, take the picture, that you decided to head down to Hill 16 to do the warm-up. What was the thinking behind that? Was that just kind of rattled up a bit before the game?
Yeah, I listened to actually Andy do an interview there last week, I think, on another podcast, and he was saying how I suppose a few of the older guys had been on about it probably just before the game or coming up to the game. I hadn't a clue there was talk about it at all, to be honest with you. I just remember coming out, we ran down, got the photo taken, and I heard someone just saying down to the hill, and it was just follow the crowd at that stage, and down we went, and it was just chaos down there. Like it was, there was footballs flying everywhere.
Yeah.
There was stuff coming down from the hill. It was mental. And like, if we'd have lost the game, people would have been calling us crazy for doing it. We're lucky that we came out aside of a 1 point victory. People were laughing about it now, but yeah, again, from my point of view, it was just something that was called on literally at the spot. But Gordon Handy, a few of the older lads had thought it through, but yeah, again, it was just a crazy game. I mean, we had a poor start. We didn't okay start. But then Dublin just had a purple patch the beginning of the second half, and Andy came on, got that goal, and then it was a big comeback. So it was just a crazy game when you look back on it all together. So I think it started off with with that going down to the hill, and it just continued on after that.
Yeah, I was kind of even watching it back. You could see the Dubs were nearly waiting in the tunnel, and I think Kieran Whelan was leading sort of the charge down towards you.
Yeah, I think they did a thing every game that year where they just kind of all marched down in front of the hill and clapped the hill before they started the warm up, and it just made a complete show of it all together. Like, but yeah, look, it was a bit of drama, a bit of excitement, but like I said, it's something good to look back on. Seems we come out the right side of it, but if we'd have lost the game, we would have been criticised for a big time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so I suppose then 2011 James Horan came in, and that was nearly kind of the start of a decade of success when you're competing at the top level. You actually struggled to beat London. I think it was extra time in the Connacht Championship. So, like, what was nearly your thinking then going into extra time at London?
Yeah, again, it was just I wouldn't say it was a shambles of a weekend, but it was just. I remember we were flying out and we had a couple of different stops even on the way out from Galway. I think it was on the Waterford into London, and then I think the Champions League final was on the night before, so everyone was kind of lounging around the hotel watching that. Even the day of, it's a bit of a circus over there. In fairness, like there's such a big crowd over there. It's like a carnival atmosphere, and like I wasn't playing that day. I just remember being on the sideline, and I think we started off well that day, and then we just completely died off. London came back into it. I suppose once they kind of got a bit of momentum, the crowd got behind them, and yeah, we just couldn't get any bit of momentum after that. Couldn't shake them off, and we were probably lucky to get extra time at all. So yeah, like I just remember being on the sideline at one stage, just thinking, "Just we can't go home if we lose here." It was just a crazy game. But yeah, I suppose it was maybe just a kick that we needed because we went on then and gave decent performances against Roscommon and Galway and got to a semi-final. So, like I said, it was probably the start of everything going back over the last 9 years or so. So, it's funny when you look back and now you could think that all that could have changed if we'd have lost to London. We were so close to losing that day, but thankfully we came out the right side of it.
Yeah, I think you bet was a Cork in the quarter final. You weren't really fancied. I think they were the All Ireland champions at the time. Was that kind of the game that nearly sparked, just that gave the confidence that the next 3 years you'd be there or thereabouts?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like you said, Cork were raging hot favourites that day. We came in probably completely under the radar, I suppose. Again, after a shaky start, we kind of came back into it at the end of the first half. I thought we'd do an excellent second half. I think we only conceded a point or something like that, or 2 points in the entire second half. So yeah, that was a big kind of boost for us. Then we went on and played Kerry in the semi-final. Probably still probably a bit naive at that time, but never really looked like winning the game. But I think it was a good boost for us, that Cork in particular, just to give us that confidence to kick on then over the next couple of years.
Yeah, then moving on to the next year, you bet Dublin in the semi-final. How big a win was that? Because I think was that the only time you bet Dublin in Croke Park in a championship game?
Yeah,
in that decade,
yeah. Again, it was a huge one for us. I remember even early on that year we played them in the league, and we kind of set out our stall that we wanted to get a victory over them. We played them in a league game in Castlebar, and by half time we were being bet out the gate, and the game had to be called off because of the fog. And as it turned out, then when the fixture was replayed, we think we won by, I can't remember what we won by, but we gave them a good beating down in Castlebar. So again, that was a huge confidence booster for us, and it kind of led into that semi-final then when we got them again, that we knew we were capable of beating them. And like I think we were 10 points up at one stage, and we were probably lucky to win it by 3 in the end. So again, it was probably a bit of naivety as well, like that we played some unbelievable football that day. We probably should have won the game by maybe 6 or 7 points, but just probably, I would say, got a bit scared once we got that far ahead, but we just started to sit back and invited them back onto us. And again, they were All Ireland champions again that year, so you just don't do that with teams of that quality. But yeah, like I said, that was probably the only time we bet them, I think, in the last, I suppose, since then, in Croke Park. So which is a bit of a pity considering all the times we played them.
Yeah, and then you played Donegal in the final. Were you confident going into that? I suppose that you had taken out the All Ireland champions, but Donegal, I suppose, were again a bit like yourselves. It was a good final in a way that someone was going to win an All Ireland for the first time in quite a few years.
Yeah. Again, a very novel player, and I suppose again, we were full of confidence. I mean, even remember the night before the game, we were chatting away, and we were fully convinced we were going to win the game. Like everyone knew, I suppose, again, that Donegal were coming and they had their certain game plan that were hard to break down. But again, I suppose considering the way we played for the majority of that semi-final against Dublin, we knew that if we kind of got a performance like that, we were going to be there or thereabouts. But even looking back on that game there a couple of weeks ago, was on telly, was obviously the start was a disaster and everyone goes on about that. But, you look back at that at stages throughout that game, we got it back to 3 points at one stage and probably had a couple of chances that we didn't take. Turn over a huge amount of ball, and again, just very probably, I keep using the word naive, but I think we were still very naive at that stage. We need to kind of slow the game down at times and kind of settle it down, because like I said, we had chances to get it back to maybe a point or 2 points and just didn't take them. Now, but Donegal probably say they had chances as well, but I think you look back on it and we still could have been there or thereabouts. But look, you can't grudge Donegal. I suppose they were their game plan off to a tee at the time, and it worked for them. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's an All-Ireland final nearly about just getting on the ball in the first few minutes, settling down, because again, like you said, they got off to the perfect start and just probably settled a bit quicker than yourselves.
Yeah, like I said, especially the first goal. I mean, the second goal, I think a shot from Paddy McBearty came off the post, and Kevin Kane was stretching for it, then just broke two, and it was Colin McFadden. So the first goal, obviously, is the one that's settling down. The second goal was probably a bit of luck to it as well. But yeah, look, it's all ifs and buts, whether it hadn't come off the post, if Kevin had caught it, that type of thing. So, again, there's no point looking back in too much detail at this stage. That's the way sport goes,
And you get back to the same stage against Dublin in 2013. Again, you beat them the year before. I suppose you're thinking that we're going to take them again, because you always never seemed scared of Dublin in a way. You'd always put it up to the match or what form you'd be in.
Yeah, especially 2013. I suppose we'd been going really well in the championship, all the way through. We've been putting up some big scores in Connacht, and then against Donegal in the quarter-final. Got over Tyrone in the semi-final, probably without playing as good as we could. So yeah, again, confidence was really high into that game. And again, when you look back on it, like, the first half, the Bernard Brogan goal, they got another point there that came from a real bad mistake from Morris. So again, you look back on it, if some buts, that type of thing, we could have been a bit further ahead at half time, should have been a bit further ahead at half time, and then they got the start that we needed in the second half. But again, yeah, I think you look back and that's definitely one that we didn't leave behind, that we just didn't perform anywhere near as good as we could have that day. And yeah, you'd look back on that one definitely with a bit of regret, I suppose.
Yeah, losing an All-Ireland final, does it give you that even more motivation to come back the next year? Because you always hear near the Mayo talk, oh, that's it now, they won't recover from this. But I always nearly think that it nearly push you on and drive you on to go again next year. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the amount of times people would say, you meet them after a game, they're like, oh, I don't know how you keep coming back, but I keep saying, you've no choice. I mean, you get to an Ireland final, you realise, we're not too far away, so you're not just going to pack it in at that stage and walk away, you're going to give it another go. So yeah, like I said, given the quality of the football we had played over those couple of years, you're always going to keep coming back. So yeah, like I said, we're never too far away. I think we get to a semi-final every year at minimum for 5 or 6 years in a row, so that's not bad going.
Yeah, 2014 then you met Kerry in Croke Park, and I think Lee Keegan got sent off just before half time, and you were kind of on the ropes, but then you put in 20-25 minutes unbelievably, you got ahead, and it was almost like Kerry did what you do to some teams, just come back out of nowhere nearly.
Yeah, again, a real, understand I said it in a crazy game when we've been involved in it, it's ridiculous, but yeah, like I said, we were kind of bit out the gate in the first half, and then with Lee getting the red card, and then just allowed a performance. Don't know where it came out of really in the second half. I think it was just a case of we had to go after it. There was no other choice. We were 5 points down, man down. It was either that or get bet by 10 or 15 points. So we just had to go for everything, and we did. And someone managed to turn around to a 5-point lead. And then obviously Kieran Donny comes on, wins a couple of balls, and it's a draw game all of a sudden. So yeah, and then down to another carnival down in Limerick, but a great one for the supporters. But again, we look back on it, again, just a crazy game, could have gone either way. But we don't do things simply in Mayo for some reason.
Yeah. Would you actually prefer sort of an atmosphere like a packed Gaelic grounds rather than, would say, 40-50,000 in Croke Park? Because just the atmosphere probably in them sort of grounds was unbelievable.
Yeah, like the atmosphere down that day was, it was unreal. I mean, you could barely hear yourself think. But like I said, if you're playing in front of if you have 60,000 in Croke Park, it's good, like, but if you're playing in front of 30 or 40, it nearly gets lost in places that big. So, I'd be fully open to playing, whether it was quarterfinals, that type of thing, outside of Croke Park, if it meant getting completely packed out. I mean, we see last year with the Super 8s, we played down in Killarney in front of about 25,000 in the scorching day. I mean, a huge atmosphere. And then 2 weeks later, we had Donegal, or 3 weeks later, we had Donegal and Castlebar in a do or die game, packed out again. The atmosphere that day was unbelievable. So, I'd be all on for playing a lot more games outside Croke Park if it meant playing in front of full houses and smaller grounds, definitely, because the atmosphere is generated is just way better.
Yeah, how disappointed were you to lose that Kerry game? Because it seemed like, I think you got 2 goals and Killian O'Connor got a few at the start. Like, how disappointed were you after losing that one?
Yeah, that was a really tough one to take. I suppose between the manner of losing the game, going to extra time, and then with James stepping down that evening, it just kind of, it kind of came together, like, so, that one was definitely a very tough one to take, and it took a while to get over it. And again, I suppose you look at, we did play some very good football between those 2 semi-finals, and, you're watching then Donegal Dublin the following day, and Kerry going on to win the All-Ireland then, and there wasn't much in that final either. So you're always kind of thinking, if we had got there, what would have happened? But like I said, there's no point, all these ifs and buts, you can just drive yourself mad thinking about it. So you just have to move on and try and not forget about it, but just try and move on and take what you can from it, I suppose.
What was the mood in the camp like when James Hoare decided to step away that first time? Because you won, was it 3-4 Connachts comfortably enough, and you were a semi-final, final nearly every year as well.
Yeah, it was. I can remember we went back to the hotel then for a bit of food after the game, and obviously it was fairly somber and everyone was down. And then we were called into the room and everyone was around the circle, and James just told us he was stepping down. So I suppose, in a way, it was probably nearly expected, but again, this was just the disappointment after the game. It just made things an awful lot worse. So it was a quiet journey back to Galway that night. It was, everyone was just really down. I wouldn't go as far as saying depressed, because you don't want to use that word, but like I said, it had that feeling to it where you just didn't really want to see anyone or talk to anyone. You just need to be by yourself or in the group for a couple of days. But look, you get on with it, and I suppose we just had to move on. And it was never, James wasn't going to be there forever. We kind of knew that they was going to come at some stage. But I suppose just given where he had taken us from to, from losing the Longford in 2010 to competing in Ireland finals and semi-finals regularly, it was a tough one to take. But that's sport and that's life. You just move on.
Yeah, and then you have new management 2015. I think you hammered Sligo on the Connacht final and did a very impressive win against Donegal. So you meet Dublin again, and they're winning by whatever 7-8 points less than 10 minutes to go. Like, how did you even pull that back? I remember watching on the telly; it was just incredible to watch.
Yeah, it was actually. Again, I've seen that there a couple of weeks ago. I think it was on the telly again.
Yeah.
About this pandemic, you get a chance to look back on a lot of games, but I think we were probably lucky that day even to be going in at halftime late. I think it was a lot of frees we got in the first half. We were probably struggling for a lot of scores apart from that. But yeah, I can actually really remember vividly enough just at one stage going about 7 points down, and just even there's about 7 or 8 minutes left, and there just wasn't that really sense of panic granting there, which is right, get the next score and we'll see where we can take it from there. I think Andy came on, got one. I went up and got one. We got a couple more, kept tacking them on. So there was never a huge sense of panic. We were just right, get the next score. And then all of a sudden, Killing got the penalty and we're back to within a point. And obviously then the replay then as well, we went 5 points up at one stage, I think, in the second half. And then just the opposite, Dublin got the momentum then and got a couple of goals, and that was it, So the replay was a funny one. Like, there was a huge swing of momentum. Like, we were kind of, we were all over them at one stage, could have gone 6 up, and then within a few minutes they were back within a couple of points and a couple of goals went in. And again, like, the momentum was huge. I think at that stage then, given everything just had kind of taken us to a 100, probably just no coming back once they got the third goal, I think so.
Yeah, what's the mindset going into these sort of big semi-final, final replays with the likes of Dublin? Do you think you might have to change things, or even with that semi-final you'd finished so well, do you just even start the next game like you finished that one?
No, you definitely have to look at the whole game as see what went right and what went wrong. I think we looked at that probably first game. I think Aidan was isolated an awful lot by himself in full forward. I think we were probably a small bit too cautious in the fact that we were probably getting a lot of men back, and then when we did turn it over, Aidan was in 60 yards of space in his own. If we did put it into him, he would just follow it up. So you have to look at things like that and try and rejig it around a bit. And obviously we probably got a lot of it right for most of the game in the replay, but I said Dublin just got the change momentum, and once they did, they were ruthless, and that's why they were All-Ireland champions, or that's why they were so good at that stage, and that's why they're going for about 6 in a row at this stage.
Yeah.
Once they got a sniff of blood, they went for it. So that's what makes champions. That's what differentiates them from everybody else.
Yeah, then 2016, Stephen Rochford came in and he lost to Galway and Castlebar on a Saturday evening. How big a blow was that? I suppose you dominated Connacht, you won 5 in a row, so it was a new territory, if you like, going into the qualifiers.
Yeah, big time. I can remember again the following day after that game, we had a bit of a meeting, and it was just, it was a real kind of, had to reassess where we were and what we wanted to do. And, the next 2 or 3 weeks, definitely, the training was kind of fairly tough going. We were just getting back to basics and working our way through it. So, again, you go into the qualifiers and you're kind of very, I suppose, not cautious, but it's hard to know exactly where you're at because your confidence probably has taken a bit of a hit. The other team are the same, so you're probably a bit more cagey going into those games, and I think that probably showed in some of the performances, especially against Fermanagh, Kildare. We probably kind of just about got through them games. But as you go on, then I suppose you get a few wins, you get the momentum, and the confidence begins to come back. And I got a very decent run then, and a decent enough game against Tipperary in the semi-final, and all of a sudden you're back in the final, which was probably something we couldn't have seen after that whole game. And then back against Dublin and 2 more games and the kick of the ball between us again. So yeah, again it was a funny year, kind of flew by really. But yeah, again, you come so close and learn a final again. It's another tough one to take, but unfortunately we're too used to it.
Yeah, and even the 27 was nearly like a roller coaster altogether. You lost to Galway, and then you bet Derry and Cork in the qualifiers after extra time, and then it was the Roscommon game. Then you drew that, and with the replay, do you think the replay was the one that sort of just set you off and led to the sort of the Kerry performances then? Yeah,
definitely. Again, it was a funny one. I look back on 2017. It's probably one of the most enjoyable years we had. For some reason, it's kind of hard to put your finger on it, but when you're playing games week on week throughout the qualifiers, you're probably only training 1 day a week in between them because you're probably playing Saturday or Sunday. So you have very little time during the week. It's just a matter of getting on with it. So yeah, it was a very enjoyable summer, but I think that Roscommon game, all right, again, probably lucky enough to get a draw out of it in the end. You're probably again playing the following weekend. It was a perfect day up in Croke Park, and again, we just got that ideal start, and that then you just kick on, and again, you just get a huge amount of confidence out of a win like that, and it probably showed then even against the two Kerry games. So while the first one could have gone either way, really, I think the second one definitely would deserve to win that one.
Yeah, as you even said there, as a player, you'd probably prefer just to play week after week rather than win a Connacht and maybe have a 4-week break to quarter final or Super race. Yeah,
definitely. Because look, you ask any player, whether it's club or county, all you want to be doing is playing games. And I think that run as well. We had probably had a couple of games in a row, and you might have a week off, which is great because you do get that extra time to recover. Whereas then you look at last year, I think we played 7 games in 8 weeks, which is probably tough going. It does take its toll after a while. So if those games were a small bit more spread out, it would have been ideal. I think 2 weeks is between games, a week sometimes. So you don't want to be waiting 3 or 4 weeks for a game because if you get fed up training all the time, that's just want to be playing games. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, would you say the 2017 final was maybe the one that even hurt the most? Because I think you got 2 points up going into the last 10 minutes. I'm not sure were you ever in that position in an All-Ireland final. Was that the one that she might just look back on and say we probably should have saw that one over the line?
I think so, yeah. But again, I suppose it's probably the final we probably played the best in. Like I said, we went 2 points up, I think, within the 62nd minute. But again, I just remember the second half of that game was just so open. I think obviously with both teams down to 14 men, there was that extra bit of space. I just remember James McCarthy coming up and kicking 2 points at crucial stages for Dublin. So if it was a case of we got that third point to go 3 up rather than Dublin bringing it back to a point, I think we would have kicked on. But you get back within a point, then anything can happen. And unfortunately, I think Killian hit the post from a difficult free, and then Dean Rock hit his one. Again, that's the difference. You're talking fine margins, but like I said, you're probably talking two teams who were at the peak of their powers at that stage. I think it was as good as fine that's been played in a long time. So, it's not enough of a consolation, but like I said, again, you just have to take on the chin, I suppose.
Yeah, you even played in some great games since. I spoke to Kevin Feely there last week about the new Bridge or Nowhere scenario. What was the mood like in your camp, sort of watching all this unfold?
Yeah, it was funny, I suppose. Yeah, obviously, I remember the draw being made and it coming out of Croke Park, and obviously, we were happy enough to play in Croke Park because we've been there so much. You'd be comfortable playing there. And then the whole kind of thing started to unravel over the next day or two about going to Newbridge. And I suppose I don't mean this in a kind of overconfident or cocky way, but it didn't really bother us too much where we played. At that stage, we just wanted to get on with the games and get playing them. And again, without meaning to sound overconfident, again, we thought we would go to Newbridge and we expected to win, because I suppose you need to have that kind of mindset going into games, otherwise you're wasting your time. But on the day, again, it was a very open game. It was kind of fairly high scoring, and in fairness to Kildare, they played very well. And again, I suppose it nearly had that bit of a feeling once we kind of went 3 or 4 points down. It just felt that it was maybe a bridge too far for us to pull that one out of the bag. And ultimately, that's the way it proved, I'm afraid.
Yeah, how odd was it nearly having the months of August and September not playing inter-county games?
Yeah, it was definitely different. Like, that was the first time, I think, since 2010 that we were out that early. So, it was definitely strange. But I suppose, that's the good thing about the GA. You get beaten and you're out of it, but straight away you're back into club games the following week. So you don't really have too much time to dwell on it or to feel too upset about it. You go back and the club boys are at you straight away. So, yeah, it wasn't ideal, but you kind of hope that you try and take the positive. Maybe it was kind of break someone as needed just to refresh a small bit. But yeah, look, that's the way it goes. Like I said, we can't have too many complaints about how the game went today. I think Kildare were the better team, in fairness.
Yeah, and then last year James Horan's come back and you won the Division 1 final in Croke Park. What was it like to get that silverware sort of Croke Park after all the years of trying?
Yeah, it was great. Like, I mean, again, it was a funny one. I remember, it was kind of a very mixed league campaign, but put in probably 2 or 3 big performances, especially against Kerry, down in Kerry to get a win after we kind of lost to Galway in Dublin. So that was a huge one for us. Bet on, and then ended up in a league final without kind of really aiming for it, I suppose, or really setting out as a goal. I remember thinking beforehand, like, we weren't really too nervous. There was no real big thought, but we have to win this, and but even when the final whistle went, it was like it took a minute for it to really sink in and realize, it's great. We remember the presentation and why we did a bit of a lap of honour, so it really kind of let it sink in and really enjoyed it. And probably just as soon as whistle went, you kind of realize, this is, it was a nice one to have, and we kind of, like I said, we enjoyed it for that night and the following day. So. Again, just unfortunate in the way the championship went, again beaten by Roscommon in the semi-final. So it was back to the qualifiers, unfortunately.
Yeah, how big a blow was that Roscommon loss? Because nearly all the talk was, I think, Galway and Roscommon were in the kind of finals the 3 years before that, and you nearly had to win it this year and go through the front door to the Super 8. Yeah,
it was a big disappointment. In fairness, I think we kind of really had set our sights on getting to a kind of final. And again, just kind of a poor enough start that day against Roscommon, and they got 2 goals in the first half, and we were kind of playing catch up all the way through, and just could never really kind of get back into the lead. So especially losing at home against one of your biggest rivals, it's a tough one to take. And then back into the qualifiers and kind of stuttered our way against Armagh and down. And then again against Galway, then Limerick was a kind of a big game for us again, especially against your local rivals. So, we played well for a lot of that game. Maybe could have won it by a small bit more if we'd have pushed on. But just to get that win and get back in the Super 8 was good. But again, a mixed bag then in the Super 8. But again, it kind of led to the game against Donegal down in Castlebar, which I kind of mentioned there a while ago. And I said it was a huge atmosphere. It was kind of a wet evening, but the boys really dogged it out. It's probably as good a performance we've put in a while. I said just to dog out that game, I said when I say performance, we probably didn't play as well as we could, but just to kind of grind it out and get through it was, it was hugely satisfying.
As a player, what do you make sort of the Super 8s? Because you played plenty of quarterfinals in Croke Park. Would you prefer sort of straight knockout quarterfinal, or have the current format?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, personally, you probably prefer the straight knockout, but when you get to experience, like I said, going down to Clarny for a sold out Championship Sunday, you get to experience what it was like in Castlebar that evening. There is a kind of a bit of merit to it, but ideally you probably would prefer a straight knockout. It just has more of a championship feel to it, I suppose. But the Super 8s are with us now for a while, so we just have to kind of make the most of them and see what happens.
Yeah, and of course you play hurling as well for Mayo, as well as football. Do you find that hard at times, or how do you manage to juggle both, I suppose?
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot more difficult. I suppose in the early years when I would have started off, would definitely have played a lot more hurling with Mayo, all right, but probably in the last 5 years we have played very little with them. I think I only played kind of 1 year in the league in 2018. You probably try and get a couple of championship games in then as well, but it is getting more difficult, I suppose, the way the championship now has been restructured. It's kind of brought forward with, so it's starting that bit earlier, which is kind of clashing in with the hurling championship. So yeah, it is getting very difficult. So it's probably not going to be realistic this year if we're back playing both of them in October or November, or whenever it is. So yeah, it's unfortunate because I do like playing the hurling. I find it very enjoyable. It would have been my first sport growing up, but that's the way it goes. And I suppose in a county like Mayo, you kind of, football does kind of take preference, unfortunately. But yeah, in an ideal world, you would like to play the two of them, but you can't see that happening now for a while, I'm afraid.
Yeah, what's sort of the training like for a county like Mayo, hurling wise? Because you have sort of the 10 elite teams, and you have the Christy Ring, Nicky Rackard. Compared to the football, what's the trainings like?
Yeah, look, it's not like they train any less, they still put in the same amount of times, commitment. I suppose the funny thing with the hurling, the way it is set up, you have so many different levels. Obviously you have Lee McCarthy, Joe McDonough, Christy Ring, but even within that you have teams that are nearly on different levels. I mean, we were in Division 2A this year with Mayo hurling, and you probably have 3 teams in that who are at one level, you have 3 teams who are slightly below. So it's we're probably punching above our weight small with Mayo. I think we've 4 senior teams, 4 adult teams. So to be competing in 2A, the hurling league, was fairly good for us. Won Division 2B there a couple of years ago. So the boys put in a big effort. In fairness, it's like every other county, lads all over the country working in college and coming home during the weeks and the weekends to train. So it's not like they put in any less of the effort. But I suppose again, it's nearly just the way the whole thing is structured. I mean, you could be out of it by the end of May, beginning of June. You could have no more county hurling until the following January. So they probably have to look at that in a way, because it's not going to promote the game an awful lot in the weaker counties if a lot of players are just finishing up their county that early in the year and maybe have a handful of club games, because there's only 4 senior clubs in Mayo, so it's not like you're getting a huge amount of games there either. So they probably need to kind of doing something in that view, just to get lads playing more, get more games, because that's the only way they're going to try and develop it, I suppose.
Yeah, I was even about to ask that, because they're trying to do that nearly with the football, the tier 2, sort of split it up in terms of your level of county. But do you find it playing in the Christy Ring, Nicky Rackard, does it work, do you think, or should they restructure it?
I don't think it's kind of, like I said, there's so many different levels. You kind of have to be aiming to win something at your own level. I mean, there'd be no point us trying to play a Connacht Championship with Galway. Those boys are getting fed out the gate. So I think you need to have something that you can aim for to win. I even see it there at club level, I suppose. If you went back probably 10 or 15 years ago, the way it was, if you won the Mayo County Championship, you'd play the Roscommon champions, and if you won that, you'd play the Galway Senior Championship in a Connacht final, which is all well and good. But if you're playing the likes of, well, back then you'd be looking at Sarsfields, Athenry, and these guys, and they were looking at winning Club All Ireland, so you'd play a Connacht final, you could get back by 15 points. Whereas now, obviously, with the introduction of the Junior and Intermediate Championship, if you do get to a Connacht final, you play the Galway Intermediate Champions. So you're competing the teams at your own level. Like you look at Tuareg there, they've obviously won the Connacht Intermediate 2 out of the last 3 years, would have gone to intermediate finals then, or semi-finals. So it is good to give something like that, or clubs like that, something to target that is achievable, I suppose. So like I said, yeah, you need to be kind of competing something that you have a realistic chance of winning, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll finish up with a few questions people sent in. I suppose the first one I have here is, how do you balance the hectic training schedule with high pressures at work?
Yeah, I suppose that's probably something that you would nearly kind of have developed over the years. I think for me, it was just planning, I suppose, is probably the only way I can describe it. You need to know what kind of schedule you're going to have training wise and work wise for the week, and just kind of try and plan around that, whether it's what nights you're training, what nights you're going to the gym, and I suppose, when you need to be leaving work, what time you need to be leaving work, when you need to be eating. So it's a matter of planning it down to a kind of a fairly detailed level, and just working like that, because otherwise you're just going to be chasing your tail for the week and you're not going to get the best out of yourself either during football or at work. So you have to kind of keep all sides happy. But yeah, definitely planning is the one way of going about it for me anyway. That's what I found best.
Who would be the toughest forward you've had to mark in a game?
Yeah, it's a regular question, I suppose, and it's very hard to kind of name out one. Playing cornerback, you obviously get stuck marking a lot of the best players a lot of the time, but I've always kind of picked out, obviously, Colin Cooper, Alan Brogan, Stephen McDonald is the three that would have given me an awful lot of problems. But I mean, there's so many players out there. I mean, I remember Martin Connor, McManus, Bernard Brogue. I mean, these guys are nearly impossible to mark at times when they're on form. But even in training, then if you're stuck on the likes of Killian or Andy Moore, I mean, they're going to cause you a lot of problems as well. So particularly when you're playing the full back line, you get the chance to mark all these great guys. But yeah, the Gooch, Alan Brogan, and Stevie McDonald were the three that kind of caused me the most problems, I think.
Yeah, Aidan O'Shea sent one in. He said, ask Keith what was his chosen bar of chocolate on the bus before the 2011 quarter final against Cork.
Aidan's telling lies. He keeps telling that story, all right, but it's definitely not true. I don't know where he made it up from, but he'd be more of the bar of chocolate man than I would, anyways. As long as I'm not doing TikToks on Marty in the shed, I think I'm safe enough.
Yeah. What's your favourite moment in a Mayo jersey?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, I suppose. You always kind of think of big wins or something like that, would have looked at, remember when the 2009 Connacht final against Galway up in Pearse Stadium, Paddy Gardner got a point, the last kick of the game to win it. That one definitely stands out. We hadn't won up in Galway for years. Obviously done 21 All Ireland in 2006 was a huge one for me personally as well. So there's bits and pieces like that. Obviously the Dublin semi-final in 12. Probably the Kerry game 2017 as well is definitely stand out because we hadn't beaten them in something like 21 or 25 years like that. So there's loads of different things like that to kind of stick out, wins like that. But to be honest, I think Andy said the same thing again in a recent interview he did. It's just you nearly, after years go by, it's nearly just the whole journey that you begin to appreciate a bit more rather than the actual wins, because you just begin to appreciate, I suppose, the friends you make and the days you've had out and the bit of crack you get along the way. So especially at times like this when it's all taken away from you, begin to appreciate it a bit more. So I think that's the one thing I'd look back on this stage with a bit more of a highlight rather than the actual wins themselves.
One here says, would you prefer to play more in the half-back line throughout your time with Mayo? I suppose you've nearly played everywhere at certain stages, even played half-forward. So I suppose what position you see yourself preferring to play?
Yeah, I suppose I probably would have preferred maybe to get maybe a bit more of an opportunity to play in the half-back line a bit more. Like that's where I would play with the club all the time in the half-back line. But saying that, I suppose, again, you look at the players we had in the half-back line there, Colin Boyle, Lee, Donny Vaughan, Paddy Durkin. It's a tough line to break into. But yeah, like that, I wouldn't change having to play cornerback. I enjoy playing there, feel comfortable playing there. So, while you would like to maybe have a bit more freedom out there, I'm not going to tell the manager where to put me. If he wants to put me in the cornerback or half forward, that's his job. So, you might have preferred to play out there a bit more, but like I said, I'm not going to complain where I play, to be quite honest.
Was it a difficult choice to prioritise intercounty football over hurling?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said at the start of the career, because there wasn't so many clashes, it was probably a bit easier to play the both. And in fairness, a lot of the managers at the start, John Mahan, Mickey Moore, and they were very accommodating and let me play. But yeah, I suppose as kind of the schedule has changed over the years, there's been a lot more clashes, both in the league and championship, so it's a bit harder. But yeah, I definitely would have preferred to play a bit more hurling. But like I said, that's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, like, you can't kind of convince the competitions committee to play the games on separate weekends or separate days. So yeah, would love to play more hurling, but just unfortunately, just the way it worked out, it wasn't able.
I'll finish up with this one. Yeah, another teammate of yours, Diarmuid O'Connor, says, "Is it true he skips breakfast on match day to get in a few more hours sleep?"
These guys are making up lots of stories about me now, but again, I'm definitely not taking any slagging from Diarmuid about sleep, and the man would sleep in the middle of the game. I'd say if he could get away with it. So yeah, don't skip breakfast anyways. We'll give that bit of advice.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thanks very much, Keith, for coming on.
No problem at all, Daria. Thanks very much.
And yeah, keep an eye on the channel. I'll have more videos coming soon.